Well, hello, welcome to another episode of Jim's Lawn and Garden. So it's at this time of the year we need to put the beans in now. Here the runner beans that I saved last year, and I've got about 5 or 6 boxes of this still. So I'm taking a little bit of a risk. It is slightly early, but with the weather that we've been having, I think it's quite possibly in the forecast for this week's pretty good. So I'm reasonably sure I'm okay to put some in now. If you look at a runner bean seed. You'll see that there's on one side, on one of the longer sides, you'll see that little white bit. Now that's where it was connected to the seed pod, but it's also where the shoot's going to come from. So what I always do is hold that facing towards me and put the bean in sideways, around sort of 2 inches down into the pot. Now, if you look at some of the early videos that I did last year, I actually dissected one of these so I could show you the bean inside. Now what it looks like inside there is you've got 2 sort of parts of the bean. So if you sort of dissect one of these, what you'll get is 2 pieces inside like that, and then in between the 2, which is where that bit is there, that's where the root and the shoot will come out of, and the 2 pieces that are in there actually form the seed leaves. Now the seed leaves are going to look something like that. This is actually a birdhouse gourd, but the 2 seed leaves will actually look like that. So the 2 halves of the seed, which are kind of like that inside there, if you imagine there's 2 halves inside there, they're going to form the seed leaves. So all you got to do is you could potentially put it in kind of upright like that, with that at one side, thinking that the shoot's going to come out one side and the root's going to come out the other. But I always put it that way, and I find that that's the most successful way to put it in, sort of on its back with that little mark there facing up, and then that'll give you good germination rate. Now I find with beans, they pretty much every one within reason will shoot. You only get the odd one that doesn't. So I'm going to be putting in. Bean wise, I'm going to be putting in enough to put well, I'm going to need around something like 120 plants. So it's at this time of the year I always run out of room in the greenhouse, and this is where I rattle through compost quite quickly as well. So there's 6 done. I've just got another 114 to go. Okay, that's them all pushed down. Basically what I've done is I've put them all in, and then just using another pot which is similar, it's a bit harder this one, all I've done is just gently gone over and pushed all the earth in. So there's 120 beans in there. Now all there's left to do is, with some tap water, give them a reasonably good water. Obviously because they're 2 inches down in the ground in the earth, what you want to do is most certainly penetrate down with the water so you get all the way down to the bean. And then what I would suggest is you don't water them again until they start to dry out. You don't want them to be too wet, but I'll put about a watering can of water on there. Now I'll leave them in the greenhouse. I'm not going to put anything over the top of them, and wait for them to come up. Okay, so we've got to that time of year where I think it's going to be safe to sow the sunflowers. Now these are the sunflower seeds. These are the ones that I saved from last year, and there's still loads of them in there. I've sent out quite a few to different people. Now what I basically do is I always grow these in these square pots, because you're going to want to put the sunflowers out at the back end of May, and at that time you want them to be, sort of, I don't know, a foot or so tall. So around now, at the end of April, beginning of May, that's the best time to put them in. So what I always do is I always just grab the seed sort of sideways like that, and push it in. So it's around, I don't know if you can see that, but it's around 2 inches below the pot. And what you want to do is put them in. Now I always grow these en masse, so I always put loads and loads in. Now I'm going to be growing 2 different types of sunflowers this year. The first type are the ones I've just put in. Now they're the ones that grow kind of, I don't know, 8 foot tall, and the really nice big heads on them. And the second type are some that Tina and Jason from Allotment Upcycling have very kindly sent over to me, and I've been saving these. Now these look slightly different. Sunflower seeds, you either get sort of black and white ones, or black ones or white ones. They're all the same really. Now they're, as you can see, they're slightly different, but they're the same kind of seed. Now I'm going to be growing these for the garden. These are the multi-headed shorter ones, and these ones here are the sort of the much larger ones that are growing the allotment. So what I'll do is I'm going to be growing a load of these and a load of these, and what I will do is basically I'll show you a picture of these later on in the year, because I'm going to put these in the garden. Now what I'm going to do is obviously keep these separate. So all of the large ones I'm going to put into the allotment, all of the smaller ones I'm going to put into the garden, and then hopefully I'm not going to get any cross pollination with insects, because what I want is obviously the small ones to stay small and the large ones to stay large. The large ones, apart from the fact that they're beautiful and they look really nice in the allotment, I grow the large ones to give to the chickens, because at the back end of the year, when there's not much for the chickens to have, they relish the sunflowers. And what I do is I dry them out. If you haven't seen before, I dry them out and I put the seed heads inside the chicken coop, and they just love to peck out all the seeds and eat them, and they're really good for the chickens. So what I'm going to be doing is put another load of these in, and some of these in exactly the same way, and I'll show you what they look like when they've started to grow. Okay, so these are the metal trays where I put all of the pots and stuff, and I was explaining to you this cloth, which basically matting, which basically absorbs water. Now I'm putting this in the bottom of these trays here, and what this will do is it sits quite nicely inside these trays like that. And what this will do is when the plants are watered, this will soak up any excess water which comes out the bottom of the pot, and it will allow basically to keep the right environment for the seedlings. What it will do is it'll hold the water at the bottom of the pot. So when I put the pots on into here like that, what will happen is the water will run down through the pot and soak into this matting, and then it'll keep the atmosphere around the pots nice and moist, so they're considerably less likely to dry out. Okay, so I'm just going to trim the grapevine down. Now what I want to do basically is encourage the plant to send the sap up the shoot and round over to the sort of the end where I want the energy to be really. So all I'm going to do is count from when it comes out. Count. I like to count three leaves, and then sort of take that off there. So I'm basically discarding that. You can take this has been damaged with the frost. So I shan't be taking any cuttings off these. So all I'm doing is counting up three leaves and taking that off like that. And basically what you're doing is you're not encouraging it to bush out or anything down the bottom. What you're encouraging basically is to encourage the plant to grow at the other end. Say anything there is seemingly damaged, but certainly take it out, because you're not. It's not going to help the plant at all. And all I'm doing now is just going up. Anything that looks damaged, take it off. Try to leave 3 leaves if you can. If not, take it off a bit shorter than that. Now, if I just move the camera around, I don't know if you can see this top section of the Ace camera work there. This is the runner. Yeah, this is the runner. I've basically got two main shoots. This is the end of one of the shoots. The other one, the end's right up there. That was the big one. So all being well, I want to leave that on. This one here, what I want to do is leave those grapes on if I can, and I'm just hoping that's not sucking. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like a little teeny bunch of grapes there. I'm going to leave that on. So I'm going to take that one off there. This one has most certainly been damaged. So I'm going to take that off there. That leaf's probably going to come off. These here, I don't know if you can see, I'm not sure if I'm still on the camera's view, but these I'm taking off. Any fruit on the ones that are damaged, most certainly take them off. And just keep the ones that are, you know, still looking healthy. It's basically the ones that were near the glass that have been damaged with the frost. Now, as I say, this one here, I'm going to leave that, because that's, even though this leaf here is looking a little bit like it's seen better days than this one here, I'm hoping that that's going to continue to grow. I'm hoping that the end there is going to continue. Could be wrong. So, by rights, what I should do is I've got a little bunch of grapes there. I'm going to leave that one on. Then I've got one coming off this way, so I'm going to take that off. I don't want any grapes on that one. And what you want to do is, I know it's really tempting to leave all of the little bunches of grapes on. However, if you do that, you're not going to end up with any grapes that you can eat. You're just going to end up with lots of little teeny grapes that you can't eat. So I've got one bunch there. I'm only going to leave 5 on as a maximum. So I've got one there. I've taken all of these off. So I've got no grapes up until that point. That was the last one there. So that's the first bunch there. I've taken off the next one. Then this one, I'm going to leave that one on because that's a reasonable. No, if I look up here, there's one here that's possible, so I'll take the one next to it. I think I'm off the view there. And so what I'm going to do is, as this is the 3rd year, I'm going to leave one. I think I'll leave that one on. I'm going to take this one off. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and there's one there, 4. Take that one off. 4. Take that one off. Sorry you can't see where I am, but there's potentially going to be one other form kind of over here, which is off the camera. So all I've got at the moment is four bunches. So I've got one there. I've got one here just hiding behind there. Then I've got one just here. And I've got one just off the camera there. So I've only got the 4, and I've got every other sort of side shoot, if you like, has got a bunch on it, and they were the sort of the healthiest ones that I've got. Ideally, what you would do is leave one, and then leave 2 without, 1 with, 2 without, 1 with. But in an ideal world, that's what you do. But because these are sort of frost damaged, you know, I've had to sort of, you know, kind of do that now. After the bunch of grapes, what you want to do is ideally leave one set of leaves, but no growing shoot, which is what I've done there. This one, that's what I've done there. But I have got a little growing shoot there now. As that grows, I'm going to leave it as it is. But as that grows, I'll probably take that out. So that's the pruning for now. Sorry, there is one other there. I'm just going to take that back because that is quite damaged. And it's really unfortunate, you know, at this time of year, if you do get a snap of frost, that you get this kind of damage. But that's Mother Nature for you. So that's basically all I'm going to do for the grapevine for now, and I'll give you an update in a couple of weeks as it's growing. Okay, so now I'm going to put in the second type of beans. Now these are climbing French beans, I don't know if you can see that. And these are from the Country Value selection. These are only small looking beans. Obviously, you know, we've got sort of runner beans that kind of look sort of that big. These beans are considerably smaller. They're only small little white ones. Now with any bean, you always want to ensure that you know, you get it at least sort of 2 inches down in the soil. So all I'm going to do, there's no real particular way to put them. So I don't know if you can see that inside there. But all you need to do is basically stick your finger in, or do what I normally do, just grab the bean like that, push your hand right down inside, give it a tap. And what you need to do obviously is, just after you've done that, just put one part inside the other, then they're nicely nice and firm. Now, there are other varieties of French climbing beans, and the seeds look very much alike. In fact, I've actually got two here to show you. So these are the dwarf French beans, and obviously and these two here are the sort of the taller ones. So the two at the front there, as you can see, they're basically identical. But the reason I don't grow the dwarf ones is they are really nice beans, but because they're so close to the ground, when it rains, the rain kicks up dirt onto the beans, and you end up having to wash them. And with the taller ones like these are sort of 2 meters high. Basically, they're away from the ground, so if it does rain, you know, it doesn't sort of kick dirt upon them, and you know, so the beans are nice and clean when you pick them. So all I'm going to do is put all of those in. I'm going to put all of these seeds in. I don't know how many seeds there are, probably about 30 or 40 seeds. I'll be putting all of these in. The only reason why I've got them in these round pots is so I can tell one from the other. You know, the runner beans from the French beans. So I'll put all of these in, and I'll show you what they look like as soon as they come up. Really quick update on the onions before it starts to chuck it down altogether. As you can see, they are just about starting to come through. So they're the little green shoots there. And as I explained when I put them in, you know, I always bury them about 1 inch or so below the ground. That's purely to stop the birds from sort of pulling them out. And you can pretty much guarantee, if you've got about 1 inch of growth at the top of the onion coming out of the ground, you've got sort of 1 inch or so's worth of roots going down, so that's kind of anchoring them in there. So if the birds do come along now and try to tug at these onions, you know, there is some root in there which is going to be holding them into the ground, so they're nice and secure. But if you look along the row, you can see them all coming up. I've put an onion about every sort of 5 inches or so. So there's one there, then there's one there, one there, one there, going up the row. The reason for the spacing is so I can get the hoe between them. You don't want to plant them any closer than that, because onions do like the water, and if you plant them too close together, they don't get sufficient you know, moisture from the ground. There are a few weeds coming up which I need to sort of get in there and pull them out. As soon as you see a weed, particularly if it's a dandelion, which we've got there, get it out as soon as you can, because you know, from showing its leaves to flowering and seeding, a dandelion's only like 2 weeks. So any weeds that you see, you know, like that, pull them out straight away. There's a bit of grass here as well, but that's what the onions look like at the moment. Right, a really quick update on the rhubarb. As you can see, this is basically come up to here out of nothing this week. Rhubarb grows really quickly, particularly if you do what I do, where you put a layer of, I've got about 6 inches of chicken muck on the top of here, and then on top of that I've also got wood chip. Now that's good for 2 reasons. One, it mulches the ground, so it keeps down the weeds, but also it's very rich in all of the minerals and nutrition that the rhubarb needs, and it also keeps in the moisture. And obviously, because rhubarb is such a fast growing plant, it needs lots of moisture to grow. Now if you can see, I have really nice healthy stems on here, so you know there's a good width to that. That's about 1 inch or so wide. Going down, that's probably about 1.5 inches. If I just walk up this side here, now the reason I'm showing you this is if I come back here next week and show you, it's literally going to be up here, because this stuff grows at about 6 inches a day. I'm not joking here. So if you look here, that's sort of a good size stem. If you're getting weak stems, that's a sign that the plants are weak. And if the plant is weak, what I suggest you do is don't overpick the rhubarb. You should only ever pick around 2/3 of the rhubarb that's produced in a year. Always leave around 1/3 back to make sure that the plant remains strong and gets all the nutrition that it needs. Obviously, it needs its leaves for photosynthesis, so that all of the goodness from there can be put back into the roots of the plant for your coming season. So that's what the rhubarb looks like. I'll show you again next week, because within a week it'll be most certainly sort of 3 foot tall, because when it starts to grow, it really does go for it. And this has come up to this level pretty much in a week. Last week, if you remember, I showed you, and it was just poking out the ground. Now, as you can see, it's up this far, and most certainly in a week or so's time, you won't be able to see any of this wood chip. It'll be completely covered with rhubarb, and the leaves will be sort of 2 foot across. So that's what the rhubarb looks like at the moment. Okay, just do a quick tour of the greenhouse, or should I say the bean house. The amount of beans I've got on here, which I'll come on to in a minute, is absolutely phenomenal at the minute. But anyway, just to show you what's going on, this is the kale. That's the Scottish kale there that Richard sent over. Thank you, Richard. This is the Portage kale as well. So that's doing really well. At this time of year, this stuff grows. It's an absolute phenomenal rate. But what I have noticed this week is I've got a little bit of I don't know if you can see down there, but that's telling me that the slugs about. Basically, that's the trail, and there's also a little teeny bit of damage on that leaf over there. So obviously I've got a couple of slugs in the greenhouse. So what I need to do is just put a few slug pellets on there. All the stuff's coming through really well. The leeks are doing well at the back there, so what I need to do is put those outside, and as soon as this weather brightens up a bit, I'll put them outside. But they're almost ready to go in. I did have a question this week, when are leeks ready to go in? As soon as they kind of get to this big, I don't know if you can see how big they are in comparison. There's my hand. So they're about 4 or 5 millimeters across, and they're about I don't know, 20-25 centimeters high. As soon as you get to that big, you can separate them, put them in the ground, so they can go in now. To be honest with you, I am going to wait a little bit, but they'll most certainly go in the ground. The onions are doing really well in there, so they'll be good to go outside. They're obviously ahead of the ones outside now. The cauliflower and calabrese that went in last week, as you can see, have all come through. Those are the ones I said to take the glass off as soon as they show. So they're coming through quite nicely. Right, so now all of these here are beans. These are all runner beans. So there's 30 each of those. So there's 120 runner beans there, and there's another 40 runner beans there. These aren't all for me. They're for my father there. He's going to have 40 of those. I've got another 40. These are the climbing sort of like French beans. So they're going to go further up the allotment. So I'm going to be growing 40 of those and 120 of those. And over here we've got 40 giant sunflowers, and we've also got the multi-headed sunflowers that Tina sent over. So I've got 20 of those growing in there. We've also got the parsnips, which you may or may not see in the clip. They've just gone in. And the tomatoes have finally decided to germinate. They're not looking brilliant. I may well put another load in. I've got about sort of 20 or so there. Those are I think they're the money makers. No, they're the Alicante. I've got money makers down here. They're looking similar. And then these are the rainbow ones. Only 2 of them have come through. And they're the Gardener's Delight. They're the little cherry ones. There's only a few of those that have come through. And it's just started to rain. I don't know if you can see. We have had quite a lot of good weather recently, and unfortunately it scorched the courgettes and the pumpkins and the squashes. So what I've actually done is I've replanted those, because basically the plants just got scorched and they were no good. So I've put some more pumpkins in and some more squashes. I need to put the courgettes back in, but they're hopefully going to come up soon. On the gourd front, these are the birdhouse gourds. So I've got 7 out of 8 so far. The green ones are the ones that I sanded the seed, so I've got 100% success rate with those. On the ones that I didn't sand, I've only got sort of 75% success rate. So seemingly, if you sand the seeds, they're better germinators. The only other thing we've got is over here. That's the curly kale. Basically, out of a tray, I got sort of 6 come up, but they'll make good plants nevertheless. This here is the Nicandra. So that needs pricking out shortly. That's growing like Billy. Those are the iceberg lettuce I put in, so they'll be ready to go out. And there we've got the beetroot there, so I'll be able to bob the beetroot in outside as soon as it stops raining. Now, I am trying to get the parsnips in the ground outside, but as you can see with this weather, I'm not going to have a lot of joy with that. But as you can see, we've been enjoying quite nice weather. We've got it's been up to 43 in here, believe it or not, degrees centigrade. If I look at Fahrenheit, that's 110. So it got pretty hot in here one day, even with the windows open. So and that's why all of the pumpkins and that got scorched. So but all of the hollyhocks and stuff there and the hydrangeas, they're all going to come out very shortly because I need more room. As you can see, I'm getting pretty packed in here now. But the greenhouse is doing pretty well. I was going to show you outside, but I think I'll delay that slightly because of the weather. Okay, just very quick, I'm going to run around. So that's the comfrey, as you can see, it's in flower. So I need to be careful it doesn't seed everywhere. All the herbs are doing really well. The mint and the sage seam is bedding in, the rosemary. Got a frog down there. That's where he lives, down the back there. Right, I've cleared out this border here. This is where the ock is going to go. So I've got some chicky muck there, which I'm going to dig in. Also, all of this old compost here that was used for the tomato bushes outside is also going to go in there to sweeten the ground up. Those plants there are going to be planted out soon. This is the other comfrey, as you can see. That's growing really well. I've moved all of the chives to here in these tubes. I'm a bit concerned about the asparagus. To be honest with you, I'm wondering if I've killed it by putting the wood chip over the top, because none of it's come through yet. So what I might have to do is scrap this and put another load in. But I've got some other asparagus. What I might do is just take all this out. Oh no, sorry, I'll take it all back. There's the asparagus there, look. The first one's just coming through. So that's a bit later. I've just come back from Loughborough. And the asparagus up in Loughborough is coming through quite a lot stronger than it is here. But anyway, raspberries are coming on strong. I will get around to doing these spelly trees at some point. All the potatoes are doing well out of this water. I just want to very quickly show you down here before I get absolutely soaked. But as you can see, the onions are doing really well. And I know I've got a couple of videos of me coming down here, so what I'll do is I'll put them all together so you can see it. But they are basically a week apart. But the onions have grown probably 2 inches this week with the weather we're having. And this is the thing. This is the reason I brought you down. This is the rhubarb, and as you can see, I said it would be up to the top of the fence, and it is. So that's what the rhubarb looks like at the moment. And I'm going to go inside out the rain. Okay, so these are the cauliflower seeds that I put in the last videos. As you can see, they've all germinated. As soon as you start to see them germinating like that, then basically take the glass off. And this is the second lot of calabrese. Again, you can see that they've germinated. You can see all little seeds popping up all over the place. So as soon as you see that, take the glass off. Don't leave the glass any longer, because you can basically cook them, which is possibly what's gone wrong with the last lot. And just leave them in the greenhouse now. As soon as they've germinated, they'll grow away, and they'll sort of grow on to be pricked out in about a week or two's time. Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions that you've got below, and I'll always get back to you. And I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Garden.